Sanja Djukic.
I need a lot of books. I didn't get good genes. I don't have the height that I need. It's time you know, my darlings. It's time you know the truth from my past. You know the stories of show, the ones of the young boys and girls who died of hunger, or the adults beaten to death or suffocated by the poisonous gases. But you don't know my story. Yes, I, Eleanor Bornstein, your mother, was a part of one of the worst times in human history. And today, children, I'm going to tell you what happened. My sight was a blur. The only thing I could see were the faint outlines of the terrified people's faces as the soldiers tore families apart. "Stanley! Eleanor!" my mother yelled. My father ignored her cries and pulled her away. 3 soldiers grabbed my arms and started pulling me towards a truck. My parents ran off across the street, but before I could see where they went, my brother Stanley screams. A blood-boiling scream. He is pulled into a truck across the street from where we were just celebrating Rosh Hashanah minutes before. The pounding on the walls of the truck could have resembled music from a distance. The screams of not only those being taken, but those being shot, stabbed, and thrown to the ground for attempting to stop the soldiers were like a choir of death sending you a message in pure gibberish. But still, through all the madness, I understood. Run. Receiving the message made me fight like never before, kick harder. A loud bang seems to stop the choir and orchestra, followed by a sharp pain in my shoulder from where I landed on the truck bed. A screeching cry escapes the hinges of the truck's doors, followed by a slam. The motor comes to life, and as the truck pulls away, the tears begin to fall and the screams fade away. My life would never be the same. All I had ever known was pulled away from me before I could even say goodbye. Journal entry 1. We have been locked in this truck for what feels like eternity. The stench of sweat and vomit have filled the small space, and sometimes you can feel the stickiness of drying blood. The tossing and turning of the road is unbearable, and breathing gets harder and harder as each minute passes. The fear of darkness has never affected me, but now, the fear of what is to come makes the darkness stronger and the space smaller. I want to go home. I want to go back to school, back to where I was happy. I've hardly begun this journey, but I can already tell it's going to be the hardest thing I've ever experienced. You see, children, as a 14-year-old girl, being locked in a car and not being able to move is not only scary, but unnatural. I was so used to playing outside, reading a book, playing with Stanley. But in the truck, the darkness allows nothing but thought. Nasty, unforgettable thought. You think about the things that would never come to your mind when you're happy. I thought of what is happening to my parents. Did they die? Are they dying? Are they searching for me? Is Stanley okay? Will I ever see my home again? I lost all my hope. I was fighting in the beginning, but I knew now that I had no chance of what was to come. All of my thinking was put aside once the twisty road turned into bumpy gravel. The truck came to a stop, and with 2 loud pounds on the truck, the doors were opened and the light flooded in. The first thing any of us saw were the police in green. Their unfriendly voices spit out German words not to be repeated. One man turned away, grasping his stomach from the stench escaping the small prison we were just encased in. The fresh air tasted so sweet, and the light, although it burned my eyes, was beautiful. The feeling of relief was soon flooded with terror as one soldier raised his gun and fired towards the old man in the back. He died instantly. The soldier looked to his pals and laughed. We never would have needed him anyways. We never would have needed him anyways. And then only the 4 others, including myself, remain. Aus, one soldier says. Before I could process his request, strong hands wrapped around my Star of David and pulled me to the ground, out of the truck. Oh, Ben! I stand, and the soldiers motion to the train, or to the right, to a train packed to the max. More soldiers stand on the train, motioning for us to go in. All of a sudden, I am forced into the train, and as the wooden doors roll to a close, my heart starts to race. Strength in numbers, a saying that is normally positive. That is until you're sharing the same hot air with 100 others in a train car, headed who knows where. There's a woman in the back yelling Billy over and over again. There's a young boy and girl clinging to each other in the dark corner. My mind is everywhere until I realize I, too, am alone. I begin searching for Stanley, hoping that there is a slim chance he was sent to the same place as me. As I shuffle my feet along the little openings on the hardwood ground, I bump into a man leaning against the wall. He grabs my wrist so fast it seems to almost knock me over. Find her. Tell her I love her. Please. His grip loosens on my hand as he leans back against the wall, and as his body relaxes, he lets out his last breath. I continue walking, trying not to breathe in the stench of sweat and death. A large screeching noise begins as we come to a halt. I fall against a woman, and we both go tumbling forward. We slide into a wall, and I see light. Not from the door, but from a small hole in the wooden wall. As I breathe in the fresh air, the sight of being torn from my family comes back to my mind. A shudder escapes my body, and my eyes well up with tears. A loud slam startles everyone in the car, and I am brought back to reality. A bright light shines into the dark car. Out! A man's voice yells. Without hesitation, we all stood and began forming a line. As we slowly make our way out of the car, I realize who everyone really is. The starting 100 passengers is now down to 60. Of the 60 is the boy and girl, still huddled together. The girl is crying, while the boy is stuck in a dead stare towards the corner full of dead men and women. The line continues moving forward, and it comes to the boy and girl. The guards become impatient, and they pull them off the train and send them to the left. To the right are people moving towards multiple buildings, and to the left are hundreds of twins, and a doctor passing out slips of paper with numbers. The twins put them on, and their line went the opposite direction. The buildings to the right turned out to be prisons. We were starved, beaten, and tortured into believing that we were the bad people. I was a prisoner to the Nazis for 2 years. The nights were unbearable. The darkness and smell reminded me of the endless rides from my home to the collection point and then to Auschwitz, where I met my future husband, your father. The war ended, but the memories of the murderous events that I witnessed still haunt me to this day. Sometimes I can't help but be distant. It's something I will never forget. I never saw my family again, for my brother, your uncle, was killed in the gas chambers. My father and mother were caught trying to sneak into Auschwitz to save me and killed at sight. I was left with your father and a new beginning. I no longer had to wear my Star of David, and I was no longer treated like scum. My journey I went through was not only scary, it was life-changing. I learned to never let anyone tell me what I can and cannot believe in, and I was blessed with 3 bundles of joy. I fought through the terrible conditions by letting them take advantage of me. By doing so, I was safe from being a threat to them. I watched my friends die for standing up to them, and I did nothing to help. My mind was invaded by the feelings of others, and I never want that to happen to you. Be the you want to be. Follow the path life takes you on, and no matter how hard it may be. You have the strength to get through it. Dear Journal, today I told my kids. I told them everything. From the terrifying rides that have caused my claustrophobia to the scarring visions that still haunt me to this day. They took it well. They now know that their grandparents never stopped looking for me and my brother, and that their mother and father were a part of something that made them who they are today. I was blessed with my family, and I plan on teaching them everything I know to show them that they shouldn't let anyone take advantage of them. I was one of the lucky ones. I made it out alive, while others didn't. Some lost their families, while others never even got the chance to start one. My name is Eleanor Bornstein. I was taken prisoner September 9th, 1943, and the Holocaust was one of the worst times of my life. I made it out along with many others. My life is a blessing, and I plan on living it to the fullest and teaching my children that they are beautiful no matter what their beliefs are. And that is my story.